dress flip-flops on, singing to that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you wild. Nothing like playing with fire, brings boy to life. Beat you with a fuse you light, you're good, you're dynamite.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, the humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this October 2nd, 2023. Today's show is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today to save yourself $20 on your first purchase of whatever you want to go to. Baseball playoffs are happening. NHL's right around the corner. College football, whatever. Concerts, whatever you want to go to. Go to SeatGeek.com and get yourself some tickets and get promo code. Use promo code 1420pod and save yourself $20 in beer money or whatever it might be. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts such as Rise to the Occasion, No Credentials Required, and the Captain Lou Extravaganza right there at bellyupsports.com. And thank you very much for making us a part of your day each and every day here from 1420 World Headquarters. Anyways, the world of sports, it's a good time of year to be a sports fan. Every year, October comes around, the Major League Baseball playoffs, they get going tomorrow with the wild card round happening. College football's in full swing. The NFL obviously is going on, and apparently the Ryder Cup was this weekend. I kind of heard about it, kind of knew about it, but it used to be must-see TV for me. But we'll talk about that in half a second. Anyways, the Major League Baseball playoffs get going tomorrow in the wild card rounds. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. The Toronto Blue Jays are playing the Minnesota Twins, Texas Rangers, Tampa, Arizona's at Milwaukee, and the I'm just stuttering this morning. The Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies get going as well tomorrow. So that's all going to happen. It was kind of sad to see the Toronto Blue Jays, the way they kind of quasi-celebrated yesterday. I'm happy that the Jays are in the playoffs. I'm happy that they made it. I'm happy that baseball is going to get a fevered pitch for the next few days. Well, might only be for 2 more days. It might be for 2 more weeks. Who knows? But it was kind of sad to see their little celebration yesterday. They backed into the playoffs. They lost their last 2 games against Tampa. They lost 2 or 3 versus the Jays. They didn't have a very good home stretch the last week of the season here, but they're in. But the celebration yesterday, the contrived celebration yesterday with the champagne and the T-shirts and the hats and the whole thing, and on the field, and Hazel May getting sprayed. I don't know if she was actually there or not, but it was a bad look for me for a team that back in the playoffs like that. Yeah, you still got in the playoffs. Yes, it's tough to get there. 162 games is a grind. There's no doubt about that, and you should celebrate getting into the playoffs. But if it's only for 2 more games, I would probably cool the Jets a little bit, not have that contrived celebration that they did. It was just a bad look. I thought it was a goofy look. I thought it was a corny look. I thought it was a ridiculous look, to be honest with you. The Jays celebrating the way they did, but it's one of those things. And who's surprised that the Houston Astros got themselves first place in the American League West? I'm not surprised by anybody. To beat the man, you got to beat the man, and they're still the man. The Texas Rangers held on to first place forever, but the Rangers, they did what Rangers always do, and they blew it against the Seattle Mariners yesterday, losing in the fashion they did. But the Astros, you can say what you want about Alec Bregman and Jose Altuve and the rest of them, but that Houston Astros franchise, six or 7 years in a row that they won the American League West, they just seem to keep rolling. They keep reloading and relaunching and everything else. They don't rebuild. They don't go through anything. They actually went out and got Justin Verlander, and then they got the Mets to pay for Justin Verlander as the hired gun this year, how that all worked out. And Verlander did what Verlander does. He had a great start against Arizona on Saturday night, and it just it's crazy that people thought that the Astros were done, and they're not. They're going to be a wagon throughout these playoffs. You're going to see them. I think they're going to do some damage. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm not surprised that they're there. I was kind of wish that they weren't there. I've forgiven once again, but I will never forget what happened with the 2017 Astros, but that's a long time ago. Baseball, we didn't get the mayhem that we got in, say, 2011 or even 2017, I think it was, or 2018. It doesn't much matter. But when the playoffs, the last game of the regular season, when you had the mayhem, this team beating that team, there was 4 or 5 different playoff implications that could have happened. The playoffs were all set by Saturday night. It was just a couple of little seeding places here and there, and who was going to be playing who, and who was going to be traveling where. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out when it all gets going tomorrow. I hope it's going to be a great playoff. I think it's going to be the Dodgers, and I think you know what? I think for some reason the Phillies have a really good shot. They have that grit on their team, but I think it's going to be a Dodgers-Phillies kind of a deal in the National League and the American League. I still think that the Houston Astros are going to be that team that get there. They're just too good and too loaded and too everything to not get through. I don't want to say no to the Orioles because that Cinderella story, I don't want to see that end, but I just think the Astros are too strong to go through. And we'll talk about that as the playoffs get going, as we get closer to that magical date of the World Series. And yeah, Mr. October, we're going to have another storybook finish for whoever ends up winning the World Championship years. But it's playoffs get going tomorrow. Should be interesting to see. The 4 wild card gets going tomorrow. So that should be a lot of fun to be a part of. Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes, they almost took down my USC Trojans on Saturday. 48-41 was the final. A lot of damage got done, even though with the USC victory, 48-41 against a team you should probably blow out. But as always, USC, they can score points like nobody's business. Caleb Williams got, I think, 6 touchdown passes to get the victory, the reigning Heisman Trophy candidate. And I would say he's got to be a front runner to win it back-to-back. But they got it. Their pass defense got exposed. They did not have a good showing in the second half, and they almost blew that game. And kudos to Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime for making a game of that thing. And like I said, USC, they're my Trojans. They got it going on, but they're going to have it in tough. They got Arizona next week, and then 2 weeks from now, that's when the fun really gets going with the Notre Dame game out down there in South Bend on the 14th, and then they have Utah after that. So it's a pretty tough road to go through right now for the USC Trojans. But I suspect that they'll win next week at Arizona. But those next 2 games are going to be a struggle. Utah actually lost this week to Oregon State, so Utah might not be as good as they were last year. Remember, they won the Pac-12 championship last year, so you don't know what Utah's got, but you just got to see that Pac-12 is actually a lot stronger than people give it credit for. Georgia survived that last on the weekend, and Notre Dame beat Duke, so you got a lot going on there. Who else was a big winner this weekend? LSU lost, which is their second loss of the season, so that'll put LSU out of the SEC contention, and then that's it for them. The college football, it's at that point of the year right now where you're looking ahead in the schedule a lot, where you see this guy's playing them, and this team's got to beat these guys, and that team's got to beat those guys, and everything else. So it's going to be a lot of fun in the coming weeks ahead to see how it pans out. College football is my second favorite sport behind baseball. I just love the implications, the game day, the festivities, and on it goes with college football and all the traditions that go along with it. So it should be a lot of fun to see how the college football playoff and everything else goes week in, week out, and see who's going to win this year going forward. But apparently the Ryder Cup happened this weekend as well. It was over in Europe, so the time was a bit screwy for me to have it on at 1420 World Headquarters. It didn't get any time frame for me to get any play for me at all. We'll talk about that in half a second, but it just seems that tournament it's kind of lost its luster. The home team always seems to win. If you call it the home team, I guess it's the home team, but the home team always seems to win. I think U.S. has lost 7 in a row on European soil, and the U.S. they smoked the European last year at Whistling, or 2 years ago at Whistling Straits in Wisconsin, and it just hasn't been a very exciting. It doesn't get much must-see TV for me. Apparently over the last week, some of the summer, I shouldn't say some, there was a couple of the U.S. guys were thinking that they should get paid to go to this event. It should be an honor to go to this thing. These guys get treated like gold. They don't touch their wallets. They're all multi-millionaires. They don't touch their wallets. They get full new wardrobes. Their wives get taken care of. They fly over in private birds, the whole bit, and the meals and everything else that they get. So they shouldn't be complaining at all about anything but wanting to get paid. It's an honor to play there. There is that disdain that between the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour, and guys picking here and there. And there was a lot of players that probably should have been there that weren't. DeChambeau should have been there, and Johnson, and it should have been there. Like, it's crazy how it hasn't played out very well for the U.S. over in Europe. There's a lot of disdain for those guys, and guys thinking that they should get paid. I don't think that's a very good thing. But the Europeans ended up winning this year, 16.5 and 11.5, 7 straight loss on European soil. Like I said, it didn't get any play for me on television at all. The only reason why I saw anything on it, I think it was on yesterday morning or late Saturday night. Rory McIlroy getting into it with Patrick Cantley's caddy a little bit, and there was a shouting match in the parking lot, and the way that all ensued, and it was just a bad look for everybody. It was over a line of a putt or something, but that's the only reason why I even knew it was even on. I forgot all about it. Like, usually it used to be must-see TV. Now it's must-not-see TV for me. I just find these guys to be a bit too hoity-toity for me, I guess, is one of those things. Too country clubbish, or maybe you're just one of those things. Yeah, the crowds were huge and everything else, but I just seem that to be the Ryder Cup isn't what it used to be, and it's not. The players enjoy it, the ones that go, but for me, it's not it's not a spectator sport for me anymore. I watch golf, not a ton, but I used to watch that to Ryder Cup without fail, and it was like the Masters for me, or like all the other majors for me. So it's disappointing that it's gotten to be that kind of a type of a tournament, but it's just the way it is. The world in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, they absolutely barfed and puked and stunk and everything else. They farted all over themselves. They shit their drawers the whole bit. Third quarter lead of 21 points to the Denver Broncos, and they ended up losing the game on a minute and a half left field goal by the Broncos. So Chicago stinks. They're going to stink. They're just not very good. It's a team that's in turmoil. There's a lot going on in the head office and on behind the scenes. There's stuff that we aren't privy to, but there's been some reports of an assistant coach who got let go because there was a situation where the FBI showed up and everything else. But the Bears are a team in turmoil, and they're not going anywhere. They're not going to win too many games all season long. They just if they get one, maybe two wins, I'll be surprised. That was a game they probably should have won yesterday. Me and some of the other guys from the other podcast, we were bugging Dave a little bit, the fan of the van, Jim Plotner, and Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports. We were kind of poking fun at Dave. Dave didn't respond at all to our poking and prodding about the Bears being behind or the Broncos being behind to the Bears, because Dave's obviously a big Broncos fan, and it didn't work out for how we were saying talking. We spoke too soon because the Broncos came back and won that game. Yesterday, another big game. The Philadelphia Eagles, they stayed at 4. They went to 4-0. The only two teams that are in the NFL that are at 4-0. But the Eagles beat Lionel Richie and the Commodores yesterday, 31-28 in overtime. So they barely survived. They got through. And then the San Francisco 49ers, they had a big win, 35-16, to remain unbeaten as well. In the National Football League, they beat the dreadful team that's trying to lose football games to maybe get into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes with the Arizona Cardinals. Not a good football team, and the Niners continue to roll. They got a team that's got something to do, and that coaching staff is unbelievable. How they can just roll out whoever. Brock Purdy just keeps winning in the regular season. Hopefully, they can carry it on into the playoffs and show that you don't got to spend thousands or millions and millions and millions of dollars in a quarterback. You just got to have a guy who can manage the game a little bit. And yesterday, Swifty Bowl 2.
She's here. Taylor is in the house. She's here. Taylor is in the house. She's here. Taylor is in the house.
23-20 for the Chiefs. Zach Wilson actually played really well for the New York Jets. It was a game that was a penalty margin. There should have been a few more penalties called in that game. That's a couple holding calls, but that doesn't much matter. It's just one of those things. But the Swifty Bowl, way to go for Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and I hope nothing but good for those two kids and the Kansas City Chiefs. As long as we can keep seeing Swifty week in, week out. It's a good luck charm for football fans right across the world. I don't know. I'm just whatever. She can sing a pop song. That's all I know. And what's going on with that Cincinnati Bengals team's an absolute mess. They lost again yesterday, 27-3, I think it was, to Tennessee Titans. That team, Joe Burrow, is an absolute mess. 27-3, get blown out. Remember, he got that great big contract before the season started. Just like an opening night kind of deal where they decided to release that he was getting $42 million, whatever it was, to make him the highest paid quarterback until they restructure Mahomes' deal, because Mahomes is still the best. Mahomes didn't have a very good game yesterday, but for that Cincinnati team at 1-3, you got to think that their season's done. They won't be going anywhere anytime quick, and that's got to be a bit of a God, what have we done here? And goes to show you don't got to spend that kind of money on a quarterback year in, year out to win. Like you look at, like I said, look at Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. Interesting game, like a lot of good football games yesterday, a lot of great sports throughout the weekend. It's a great time to be a sports fan. NHL got the preseason was going yesterday over the weekend as well. They're in full swing. I think we're about a week and a half away from that starting, so it should be a lot of fun in the coming weeks ahead for Major League Baseball playoffs. NHL starting this weekend is Thanksgiving here in Canada, so it's always a good sports weekend for us up here. So it's one of those things. It's just like I said, it's a great time of year to hunker down inside, because it's getting all the leaves are turning, the leaves are brown, the sky is gray, right? So it's one of those things where it's time to hunker down and listen to the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Just subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well, and get all your sports highlights and everything else we're got going on tonight. Actually, I got Captain Lou Gamlin coming off the Captain Lou extravaganza, and Kevin Wilson, senior writer for Belly Up Sports. They're coming to talk about the season that was in Major League Baseball. We're going to talk about that. Talk about the upcoming Major League Baseball playoffs and give our predictions for the wild card round and the World Series as well. Might do that between every round. Have those guys on. They're very knowledgeable baseball guys. They got a lot to say, so it should be fun having Kevin and Lou on the 1420 baseball playoff, whatever I can't remember anymore. Make sure you guys tune in maybe tonight at 6 o'clock on YouTube, 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. But anyways, let's have a little word from our friends at SeatGeek.
The foul baller. If there's a ball that's gone foul, he's gone to get it. Under his watchful gaze, all bevs, binoculars, and ballpark brats are safe. He's the only thing that stands between his section and certain destruction. That's why he only trusts SeatGeek with his tickets. The ticketing app trusted by fans. SeatGeek, so fans can fan.
Thank you very much to our friends at SeatGeek. Once again, use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. And yeah, whatever you want to go to, save yourself $20. Beer money. There we go. Anyways, on this day in 1986, New York Mets pitcher Dwight Gooden becomes the first pitcher in Major League Baseball history to collect 200 strikeouts in each of his first 3 seasons. He struck out 7 Montreal Expos in the Mets' 8-2 win over those Expos in front of 10,726 fans at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. The win was the 105th of the year for the Mets and 17th for Gooden, who had strikeout totals of 276 in 1984, 268 in 1985, and he wouldn't reach the 200 strikeout plateau again in his career until 1990 when he recorded 223. In Gooden's 16-year career in the big leagues, he recorded 2,293 strikeouts. Dr. K, or Doc Gooden as he became known, was a 4-time All-Star and was a 2-time World Series champion. Once with those 86 Mets, the Bill Buckner game, as we all know, and again, with the New York Yankees in 2000. So on this day, Dwight Gooden, there he is, striking out Pete Rose, if you're watching here on YouTube and everything else. So on this day, Dwight Gooden, man, he was good. That curveball was something nasty. He threw so darn hard. He was such a good pitcher. Too bad there was some little situations with cocaine abuse and everything else and over the last part of his career. But no, Dwight Gooden was he was one of the all-time greats for sure. You just wonder what he's probably like, what could have been, right? One of those things. And happy 61st birthday to retired NFL quarterback, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and Super Bowl 26 MVP, Mark Rypien, born on this day in 1962 in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Rypien was drafted in the 6th round of the NFL draft after playing with the Washington State Cougars and was 146 overall pick and 8th quarterback in that draft. Rypien would play 11 years in the National Football League with stops in Washington, St. Louis, Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Philadelphia. He threw for 18,473 yards and 115 touchdowns in his career. In his Super Bowl MVP performance, Rypien passed for 292 yards and 2 touchdowns, leading the Redskins to a 37-24 win over the Buffalo Bills. Happy birthday to Canadian-born Mark Rypien. His family moved from Calgary to Spokane, Washington, I think when he was 3 or 4 years old. So I'm sure he says he's from Spokane, not from Calgary. But we every once in a while when a Canadian does good, we give them a pat in the back and say, hey, you're one of us. And that's what us Canadians do. So happy birthday to Mark Rypien, born on this day in 1962. And we're obviously not the first to report this, but we're going to give the 1420 tip of the cap this morning to Tim Wakefield, who passed away on Sunday after battle with brain cancer. Wakefield retired in 2012 after 19 years in the big leagues, the best known for his knuckleball, and was an integral part of those Red Sox-Yankees games. That rivalry was so great back in the early 2000s. 2-time World Series champion in 04 and 07. Wakefield was 57 at the time of his passing and survived by his wife, Stacy, and their children, Trevor and Brianna. Tip of the cap, like I said, goes out to Tim Wakefield. Tip of the cap, there it is, to Tim Wakefield. He's such a great pitcher. You don't want to talk about the Aaron Boone home run in 04 or 03 and everything else, because he was so good, and he was the reason that the Red Sox even had a chance in 03, and then they got it done in 04, obviously, and in 07. And his number was retired by the Boston Red Sox, but it was it's sad to hear that happened to a guy like that. And he was always a class act and everything else. Like, you put rivalry aside and everything else, they're human beings too, right? So it's you put the Red Sox and Yankees rivalry, which isn't a rivalry anymore, but you put that aside when it comes to a guy passing at such a young age and leaves a family behind and everything else. It's just sad to hear. And I read that his wife had cancer too, so it's just a tough go of things there for Tim Wakefield and his family. But tip of the cap to Tim Wakefield, Boston Red Sox legend, and the rest of it goes. Anyways, also, I want to say happy birthday to my dad. He would have been 85 years old today, born 1938. Yeah, so he would have been 85 years old today. He passed away 3 years ago, as you guys know. But happy birthday to Steve, and I know you keep him smiling up there, Steve. And we miss you and we love you down here. And yeah, so there it is. So hate to end the show on a somber note, but we should be celebrating guys like Tim Wakefield and my dad and everything else. It's always there's days that you get a little bit crazy, but this is one of them. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you listen later on, make sure you subscribe to the likes and shares and give us a rating, and it just helps the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. So from all of us here at 1420 World Headquarters, remember, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with. Have a great day, folks, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with the sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.